This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome into the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. Booming, bustling day in the rumor mill. Tangible news, too. The Yankees steal a top prospect from the Chicago Cubs. Why exactly was he available for money? Why was he DFA'd over some random veteran options? Don't ask me. I'm not Jed Hoyer, but we will take it. Also, Alex Bregman on a short-term deal, slightly more appealing for the Yankees. Is he really open to it, or is it just buzz? The Yankees have been eliminated on Roki Sasaki. I spent 20 minutes on Monday's show talking about how it felt like they would be, but they weren't yet. And then I logged off the show and they were. So we'll reflect on that a little bit, especially in terms of their pursuits next year. Is Sasaki a one-off, or is this more, is this the third in a 3-year pattern next year as they chase Munetaka Murakami, or are Sasaki and Yamamoto so individualized? They're different cases. You can't take one at the other's value. We'll talk about it if the Yankees are slipping in this market, because California, very tempting. West Coast, Yamamoto wants to be there. Ohtani wants to be there. California wasn't invented in 2023, and the Yankees used to sign Japanese stars. So obviously, got to talk about it. Can we add a lefty? Can we not watch the Mets steal Tim Hill? That would be very helpful. We need him. He's kind of an important part of the Yankees bullpen, and an important part of the show is Thomas Carannante, who's now named Adam Weinrib on the screen.
Oh my God.
Do anything about that. I was just talking about Tim Hill. I was spitting out some stuff in the intro, and I was going to close on the flourish of, the Mets, remember, wow, the Yankees don't know how to treat Juan Soto. A security guard yelled at his dad once, and the Mets, though, they're a family. Apparently not if you're an actual member of their family, because they don't seem to care about Pete Alonso at all. So we'll talk about all that and more. Thomas Carannante, welcome to the show for the second time. How are you? How you doing?
Pretty good. Sorry, guys, wasn't here Monday. We weren't here Monday. Did you go live? I don't even know.
I did a little 20 minutes. But again, it was a pointless
Adam's a great guy.
Because I was dancing around talking about it was right after the Giants got eliminated on Sasaki.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, the Yankees aren't going to make the finals here. It's going to be the Padres or Dodgers. Don't get your hopes up. Hopes should be down. But, why couldn't it be at least the fact that we'd get considered and also, we were the first out in Ohtani, and it feels good to not be the first out here. The Giants are, and in their face. And then I logged off, and it was like, Yankees are the second out, actually. You're a big loser.
Yeah, I was puking, so I couldn't be there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And maybe there was a good reason I was puking, because I knew this was coming. Everybody who, I guess, you watch Yankees people on everywhere, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. And there was, look, we had previously gotten a tad excited about Roki, and we said, hey, this could be pretty cool if it happens. But I think other people convinced themselves that, oh man, he might choose the Yankees. You want to talk pitching development, you want to talk clear path to the World Series. It's got Yankees written all over him. And in actuality, this whole thing's been going on for a year now, over a year. The Yankees were never mentioned as a suitor, ever, not once.
It's just Jim Bowden saying I think
Jim Bowden predicting
he's met Masahiro Tanaka at some point, so I'm making this up. Yeah.
Dating back to whenever this started, it was always Dodgers, and then we deviated into the Padres, and then it all went full chaos at the winter meetings when I guess Joel Wolf, his agent, decided to make this. And I agree with Michael K., a giant circus. I mean, again, much like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, his preferred choice was the Dodgers the entire time. He paraded around, dicked other teams around for more money to get out of the Dodgers, and then ultimately signed with the Dodgers. And I think that that's what we're dealing with here. This is obviously not a money situation, but the more teams you could talk to, the more information you can heed is beneficial for someone like Roki Sasaki. But again, this has been telegraphed since day one. Why are we doing this? Michael K made a good point. Obviously, everybody will, opposing fans will laugh at him for just, they'll call him a whiner because he's essentially, they'll think that he's saying the Yankees aren't getting their way. But in actuality, the international signing period opened yesterday. Roki Sasaki was posted a month ago. Roki Sasaki has had a while to at least make his intentions known. And I understand 2 days before the international signing period began, he narrowed his destinations. But that still puts those 3 teams in a terrible position with their international signings. So if you're the Blue Jays, who are probably not, and I guess I'll sympathize with the Blue Jays for a second. If you're the Blue Jays and you are one of the 3 finalists here, you have to respect that, even though you're probably looking at the Dodgers and Padres being like, well, that's probably where he's going. So you're not going to throw all your money at a bunch of existing international free agents on the and spoil your potential chance to get Roki Sasaki. So in essence, Sasaki is putting these teams in a bad position when, again, the intentions have been telegraphed. The reports have been the reports, and they have been the same reports for over a year from various different outlets, from Japanese to MLB insiders here to, other Asian baseball insiders that have been reporting on the matter. So it is frustrating to see that. And if the Yankees had gotten down to this juncture, I'd probably be more upset, because the Yankees do a lot of their work on the international market. They do a lot of recruiting. Some of it results in them being able to pull off some trades or stockpile their farm system to make larger deals. I understand mostly they're underwhelming, but it's all part of the equation for what the Yankees do. So to put them in a situation like that, where you're choosing between a non-guaranteed dream situation and just doing your regular business with, whatever the 8 to 12 prospects you wanted to sign, it's not right. But then again, back to my main point, this was never happening for the Yankees. And I think you are right in your assessment that, and it's no secret, I think most Yankee fans have said this, there needs to be some sort of realignment. The Yankees need to look in the mirror. The Yankees were once a premier destination for Japanese players, and now they are not even considered. They haven't made the final rounds for 2 out of the last 3 mega stars, and I think we would be safe to say that Yamamoto never really considered them. So I wouldn't even consider them a finalist based on how that all transpired. And again, what Yamamoto said after it all done: I was always planning to be a Dodger. I always picture myself being a Dodger. That doesn't make the Yankees a finalist. It would have made the Yankees the finalists if they said, okay, here's $400 million. What do you say about that? Mm-hmm. And nobody was ever doing that. So, there needs to be some sort of recalibration, and it goes back to everything, right? It goes back to free agents. It goes back to trade acquisitions. They constantly trade for the wrong players. The free agents that they want typically don't want to come here. Nobody's taking a pay cut to play in New York just because you're wearing the pinstripes or you're on a winning team. They're coming to New York because they want the most money and they want the prestige. So I think the Yankees have gotten a little bit away from that. And it is funny to think about that the payroll is just constantly as high as it is. And you're wondering why and wondering how. And now we're in a situation where this team has to clear payroll in order to make room for other moves that people are looking for, or make room for other voids to fill. We'll get to Tim Hill at the back end of this episode. Don't know why he's not signed. He should cost anywhere between $3 and $5 million a year. That's a drop in the bucket for this team. But I think it comes back to Marcus Stroman's $18 million plus his vesting option for 2026. And it comes back to essentially DJ LeMahieu being a dead $30 million. And of course, you're paying Anthony Rizzo $6 million this year for the buyout. You're paying Aaron Hicks $10 million for, I think this is the last year of his contract. So, yeah, needs to be a realignment. Again, not going to complain with the moves the Yankees made this offseason after what they were dealt with. They went as far as they were willing to go on Juan Soto. I thought it was a fair offer. Not going to complain about it. They made the necessary steps, but more still needs to be done if this wants to be a World Series team. And again, you get pushed aside by a highly touted international free agent, and you're wondering why. And they should be wondering why, because the Dodgers are, new kid on the block right now. Like they are what the Yankees were in the late 90s, early to mid 2000s, and the Yankees just aren't that anymore. So fans don't have the right to complain that, oh, all these guys are going to California or all these guys are going to the Dodgers. That's bullshit. It's like, no, once upon a time, that was the deal for the Yankees and it was great. And now it's not. So they need to figure it out, and they need to get back to where they once were in terms of brand, in terms of reputation. And I don't know what it's going to take, but it's got to start now.
Yeah, you need to figure out if this is an ongoing trend, a situation where this is going to be every generation of Japanese stars and every
Yeah.
generation of international stars who are going to view a team like the Dodgers as the best spotlight, easiest path to a title, etc. Or if this is just a situation where Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Roki Sasaki got really close on the Japanese WBC team. And like Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh on the Heat just decided we're going to come together in the major leagues, whether it's this year or next. I'm going to find a way to, you find a way to LA, then you, and then I'll find a way there too. And clearly 2 of the 3 of them have made it. Sasaki seems increasingly likely he's choosing between the Padres and Dodgers. And when those are the 2 teams, and when one of them is the Dodgers and they're the defending World Series champions, they have every star in the world. And they added Ohtani and Yamamoto last year. And clearly, that one Japanese star per team thing that we'd heard about for a really long time is, if it was ever a valid concern, no longer is, then I'd put my money on the Dodgers, obviously. But Munetaka Murakami is going to come over next year, and he's going to cost between what Yamamoto and Sasaki cost, because Yamamoto was looking for a mega deal, and the Yankees gave him a huge offer, but not the largest. They got outbid. Sasaki's money is capped. He wants to go to a team with prestige where the media maybe isn't such a circus, even though he and his agent crafted a media circus this past month or so, and also cost some Latin American players their jobs because these teams had to break agreements with players in order to bring him aboard. So if you're looking to not get scorned by the media, maybe don't do that. But either way, that's what he's looking for, and the amount of earnings he can get, there's a ceiling on it. So 2 very different situations, but Murakami's going to be right in the middle. And he's a guy who is a slugging left-handed hitting first baseman, hit a Japanese record 56 home runs in 2022, but combined for 64 the last 2 years. So hasn't reached that 2022 peak, even though he's supposedly entering his prime. Prime candidate for Yankee Stadium, first baseman, lefty swinger. In the past has said he prefers to play on the West Coast or with the Yankees. Your time to find out right now. That money's going to come in between the 2. It's not going to be $6 million like Sasaki, but it's not going to be $300 million like Yamamoto. Can you win a bidding war at $180 million for a talent like this? If you're the Yankees, when he said West Coast or Yankees, you have the power to make sure that Yankees interest is legitimate and not cursory. And he's not just saying in the way that we believe Sasaki be doing with the Blue Jays right now, yeah, I would love to go to the West Coast or the Yankees, but really I'm not going to consider the Yankees. They'll finish 3rd. I'll consider West Coast, and then I'll also say Yankees to keep my market where it needs to be. Or can they convince him to make the Yankees an actual destination that he'll be open-minded to? Because they've embarrassed themselves the last 2 years, giving Yamamoto a jersey that he didn't want. Roki Sasaki also wore Padres gear at a workout last week, so there's a chance that the Padres could be the new Yankees there. But giving Yamamoto a jersey that he threw in the trash can and underbidding the Dodgers offer, and then saying, well, he always wanted to go to LA all along. And we know he did, but he underbid the Dodgers offer anyway. And then I don't think you ever would have gotten Sasaki. I'll eat crow if he goes to the Jays, but certainly seems like the Jays sold him a better vision of their future and pitching development prowess than the Yankees did at this point to get included in the group of 3 finalists, which could have been the Jays, Cubs, Rangers, Yankees, what have you, all the teams that pitched him. Toronto ended up being that 3rd wheel, or hey, it's not done yet. Maybe they get him, but the Yankees need to reckon with why we couldn't come in 3rd here, even if this was a doomed pursuit. What did Toronto say? Toronto, a team without Vlad Jr. locked up long-term, with Bo Bichette basically begging out and likely to be traded mid-season, if not sooner, with a terrible farm system, a worse farm system than the Yankees, with no history of building a dominant bullpen or strengthening a rotation or feeding development program. The Yankees have a vaunted pitching development program. You may argue that it has yet to produce superstars, and I hear you, but Luis Gil won the Rookie of the Year last year coming off surgery. Clark Schmidt was one of the best pitchers in the American League, struggled hitting that wall in the middle innings, struggled with length, but those 2 were crucial pieces of a rotation puzzle. Carlos Rodon got back on track between year 1 and year 2. Garrett Cole, hard to think of better mentorship from an ace. So, it's not like the Yankees have cranked out the early 90s Braves in their rotation, but the reigning Rookie of the Year winner, if that's not a development win for the pitching side, and if all of these closers that they've gotten money over the years, Clay Holmes to Loizaga to Tim Hill, who's now flirting with the Mets. Like all of these bullpen arms, they've also revamped. So I'm going to give the Yankees credit, the pitching development side. But whatever the Blue Jays said to Sasaki, it worked. And whatever we said, we were happy with our pitch and satisfied, and it didn't. We didn't finish top 3. So this could have been a doomed pursuit, but the Yankees have 1 year to lick their wounds and figure out if Murakami is worth pursuing or if they're going to finish third or worst in that pursuit. And whether it's time to just reprioritize Kyle Tucker, try to find another 1 year first baseman like Paul Goldschmidt. And speaking of the 1 year guys, couple of names have changed hands this week, or at least the rumor mill has changed. Brief reflection on Donovan Solano, $3.5 million to the Seattle Mariners. I mean, look, 37-year-old, I get it. It's going to be a 1 year deal, but that amount of money is small. He had a 112 OPS plus last year, 110 OPS plus the year before, 99 in 2022, but 103, 127, 116 the 3 years before that. At some point, time will come when his bat slows down, I guess. But the Yankees bench sucks. Like, it's terrible. And like $3.5 million, I'm not saying like, well, there's your infield. There's your Glaber replacement, Donovan Solano, right? He plays first. He's slowing down. I don't know if you can plug him in at second every day, but don't you need guys on the bench who just like, you can call on them and they come up and hit sometimes, even league average guys.
Don't even remember the last time I had a guy like that.
Right. Well, John Birdie, I was like, wow, finally some intentionality on the bench. And then John Birdie actually showed up and he played like 12 games and he was okay. But Donovan Solano for $3.5 million, like that is Jose Trevino money. And our backup catcher this year is going to be a guy who costs like $1,000 because it's JC Escara or Alex Jackson. Like, I don't know. The bench used to have Tim Raines on it. Like, I'm not going to get my panties in a bunch about Donovan Solano, but at the same time, like, hey, that's a free guy who's good at baseball, which lessens my enthusiasm around a potential infield pursuit of Alex Bregman, who is still languishing on the market, does not have what he wants from the Red Sox yet. Clearly doesn't want to go to the Blue Jays or Tigers at the prices that are currently floating around. Feels likely to get less than the 6-156 that he turned down from Houston earlier in the offseason. And I know that I'm barking up the wrong tree, even bringing Bregman's name back up. He'll cost you international free agent money and 2 more draft picks. But where are we as a society where this is going to become Alex Bregman for 1 year? This is the Pete Alonso deal that the Mets can't find common ground with Pete Alonso. Nobody can find common ground with Alex Bregman. So he's going to test free agency again next year if he decides a short-term deal is appealing. And rumor has it, the Cubs and Bregman's camp have talked a little bit about a short-term pact earlier this week. So if he ends up signing a long-term deal, then fine. The Yankees were never involved and never should have been. I get it. But if it's a short-term deal, it's going to be like 3 years with an opt-out after 1 year. You can't find it in your heart to do that. At what point are these 4th-round draft picks less valuable than getting someone out of the Red Sox clutches and making sure that your team is better? For 1 year, no commitment here, just money. So if you're telling me that they can't make a move on an infielder of Bregman's caliber and Nolan Arenado's caliber until they get rid of Marcus Stroman's money, I hear you. I get it. I don't like it, but I understand. If you're telling me that same money is holding them up from pursuing Jorge Polanco and people of that tier, then I'm angry. And if you're telling me that money is stopping them from pursuing Donovan Solano types or Brendan Rodgers, then I'm furious. You're telling me they have no wiggle room year over year, a team that obviously spent on Fried, absorbed Bellinger money, Devin Williams arbitration salary. Like, they're taking on money. Why is there a breaking point once you're taking on money? That's what I don't get. And so, yeah, if it's a tiny signing or a 1 year commitment to a star like Alex Bregman, I get the cons. I get the no's. I know why you're telling me the Yankees can't spend, and I know why you're being cautious with your draft picks. But, like, am I really going to hear from the – let's say Alex Bregman ends up signing with Boston on a 3-year deal with a 1 year opt-out or something. And then the Red Sox offense gets closer to where it needs to be. And then the Red Sox are worse than the Yankees, I think, but there's a world where they're not and they're better. Like, there's a world where things work out there and not here, and things have worked out there a lot for the last 20 years. So I don't know why people are so skeptical that it's possible. At that point, am I still going to be hearing about how the Yankees were smart not to do this because they saved a 4th-round pick Like, is that where we're at? I'm just curious. People are still going to cite like, well, that was, Boston won 94 games in the AL East, and they have an easy playoff draw. But at least we have our fourth rounder this year. We could take a Louisville left-handed reliever. Like, do you people follow the draft and the way that the Yankees draft? And I'm curious.
Pessimistic take or optimistic take first?
Now, let's go with optimistic and then leave him with the pessimism.
Okay. Optimistic take is that if it comes down to that, I'm confident the Yankees will outbid the Red Sox. If there is a short-term, and the Cubs, if there's a short-term opt-out situation on the table for Bregman, I'm fully confident the Yankees would be way more amenable to that, and they would be way more amenable to spending that money up front rather than having it be on 6 or 7 for 175 to 200.
That's clearly what he wants.
Yeah,
but like, where's that coming from? If Boston were to match that first deal, he's a Red Sox already. But
yeah.
TikTok.
Pessimistic take is that I have zero faith that he's taking a short-term deal. Like, he is not of the players who have taken short-term deals in recent memory. Like, he is an established major leaguer. He's a star defender. He's a star offensive player, whether you want to talk about ballpark dimensions or not. He's a World Series champion. He's a proven postseason performer. He's durable. So this isn't like a Blake Snell situation from last year where they were like, well, we're not sure about your health, and it's a lot of money you want, and you have kind of an up and down track record, so I'm not sure. Or Jordan Montgomery, who was like, yeah, man, great last year and a half, and you're riding off this World Series high, but like, we're not giving you $200 million. Like, that's just not happening. That's what Corbin Burns is going to make next offseason. And those are just recent examples. There are definitely more in recent memory, but Alex Bregman's not going to settle for that. And I could be wrong, but again, we still have a month to spring training. Remember, this is just MLB owners trying to see if the players will cave first. And I think that for guys like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, like, signing them late on short-term deals was much less of a risk than it would be to sign Alex Bregman late, or risk another team taking him out from under you and offering him more money. So I think somebody's going to sign him for 6 years. I don't know who it's going to be, but Scott Boras already lived this horror show last year. I think he's going to do his best to make sure that it's not the case this year. And the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of teams out there that need a third baseman. And third baseman is a very hard position to come by when you're talking all-around ball players, offense and defense. So someone's going to cave at some point. One of the teams are going to cave. They're going to realize that this is one of their missing pieces. They're going to realize that the money's the money. We're paying for 3 to 4 really good years, and then we're paying for the regression on the back end for 3 years, and it is what it is. But that's my pessimistic take. It's like, he's waiting this long because he knows what he's going to get. This isn't a Pete Alonso situation where, like, his bat speed has declined significantly. His defense is iffy. He's a huge strikeout guy. Like, there are concerns with Pete Alonso. Kind of a one-dimensional hitter for the most part. So I get that. Alex Bregman's not that. Alex Bregman has proven in almost every manner possible, tested in every manner possible. Just so happened to hit free agency a little bit late because he signed that extension with the Astros. But I think it's going to sort itself out. So consider the Yankees out. Consider the Red Sox out, because I don't think the Red Sox are spending. It would just be crazy if the Red Sox spent all that money, moved Rafael Devers off of third base, traded Tristan Casas, and then, like, you might not be that much better. It doesn't seem to me like that's a winning formula for Boston. Like, maybe it does make them better, but for the most part, it's unnecessary roster lifting that you don't need to do, especially at this juncture. Like, you're going to have a full healthy season of Tristan Casas. His trade value isn't high, so why are you going to trade him anyway? Rafael Devers still has prime years left at third base. Is he the best third baseman in the world? No, but you paid him $330-something million. Like, you got to get as much out of him from that position as possible. So I think we're looking at I think there's a team involved here that we don't know about.
There has to be.
The Cubs are going to say, fuck it. The Cubs are finally going to say, I don't know what the Ricketts are doing, man. That's like, you want to talk about an infuriating ownership group. That's got to be atop the list.
The best outcome, I think, for the Yankees. Look, I would love Bregman on a 1-year deal or a 1-3 or whatever. But I think the more realistic best outcome for the Yankees is that the Phillies finally show up here and give him what he wants and trade Alec Boehm to the New York Yankees.
I kind of want Alec Boehm, and it's just because he can hit for average and he plays solid defense, and he's been on a team that's playoff tested, and that's really all I care about. Like, either, again, it's one of two things. It's get me one of the best defenders you got out there and sacrifice offense. It's get me, it was the Luis Arias situation. Okay, going to sacrifice infield defense. You're going to keep Jazz at third. We'll put Luis Arias at second. But guess what? Now we have a batting champion in the lineup, and that changes the complexion of everything. Alec Boehm, I think, is the happy medium where you're getting an all-around solid player, inexpensive, and then can move someone like Jazz back to their natural position at second base, and you're not really sacrificing anything. But yeah, that would be a dream situation.
That's where I'm at. Like, and the Phillies are always waiting in the weeds to make a splash too. And you can't convince me Jesus Luzardo was their best splash, but maybe he was. We'll see. You can convince me of that if we get to the end of the offseason. They've done nothing else. But I think once I don't know if you can put the toothpaste back in the toothpaste tube with a guy like Boehm. Like, when you float his name for a million years, like, he's available. By the way, he's available. We'd like to trade him for Mason Miller, please. Like, the specific trade offers keep leaking, and then you go to camp with him on the roster. Like, you've already made your stance very clear. So we'll see if that ends up playing out, or if it's the Tigers, or if it's acquiescing. But I want Alec Boehm. I want Alec Boehm for the couple of years where we'd have Alec Boehm more than Alex Bregman at that advanced price. And yeah, fine, then you get to keep your precious draft picks. Hope everybody's happy. I don't want to get rid of draft picks either. I don't. I love draft picks. But come on, are we kidding ourselves? Like, don't become the Red Sox. Team prospect rankings. We have the best farm system in baseball and one of the worst teams, but we're never calling those guys up, and we're never trading them either. Like, okay. Online braggers. I see. Yeah. Don't become that. Don't pin your hopes on a 4th-round pick you may never see when you could just sign a guy who is very good. They were prepared to sign Christian Walker. I don't think they randomly remembered he cost draft picks as they were about to do that, but maybe they did. I don't know. But either way, Brian Cashman has shown that there are other ways to nab top prospects other than 4th-round picks. I don't know how he got Elmer Rodriguez Cruz for the Red Sox for Carlos Narvaez. I really don't. God bless. Maybe there's a catch there that I've yet to find out. And I don't know how he got Michael Arias from the Cubs for even less than that. Michael Arias was a top 20 prospect in the Cubs system who, to be fair, had a tough time at AAA last year. Who among us has not? 5.45 ERA in 36 and a third innings, walked 36 men in those 36 and a third innings, 46 strikeouts. The stuff was clearly still there. He's 1 year removed from a stretch in Myrtle Beach where he had a 2.55 ERA in 11 starts, 42 and a third innings, 64 Ks, only 25 walks. 22 years old last year. He just turned 23 in the offseason. And is he going to step in on day one and be a primary setup man for the New York Yankees? No, probably not. I hope he's not. I hope they're able to flesh out the Major League bullpen with some proven options at the start. But arms like this, converted infielder too, he's learning pitching. He's perfect for the lab. Like, okay, unbelievable arm, 70 grade fastball per Baseball America, struggles with control, has a sinker and has a change. And hey, Matt Blake, like, he's still learning because he used to be an infielder. So here you go, malleable, wants to be taught, wants to get into this. And the Cubs had some other options they could have DFA'd when they got Colin Ray. They didn't need to get Colin Ray in the first place, but they did. They picked up Matt Festa like a couple of days before the reliever, and they kept him. They kept another 27-year-old reliever who they prefer, and that's fine. But we got Mark Leiter Jr. from the Cubs last year, gave them Jack Neely, who made a couple big league appearances last year. We liked his future. He appeared in Chicago already. So I'm going to thank the Cubs for giving us Arias. I can't guarantee He's a star. I cannot guarantee he's a closer of the future, but you watch the footage, this guy's throwing 98. I don't know why he was DFA'd. I don't know why he was free. The Yankees got Brennan Davis around Christmas, who's like a Cubs outfield prospect, their former number 1 prospect. He's got ridiculous raw power, but he was injured. He made the Futures game in 2021. Yes. And he won the MVP of the Futures game that year. And then he was injured in a different way, injured in a third way. So, yeah, he was available as a minor league free agent. We grabbed him. Maybe he bounces back. He had crazy exit velocity last year. Maybe he doesn't. But he was on the market. Yankees signed with him. Arias, the Cubs did not need to get rid of. Maybe they were just frustrated. Maybe they thought they'd done all they could to get him big league ready. And we will happily take on that challenge. I don't understand why this arm was floating around. I don't understand how Brian Cashman was able to get a prospect of this caliber, a 4th-round pick equivalent at the very least, just for cash considerations. He stayed diligent. I'm going to give him credit here.
Yeah, of course. And look, these are hard guys to remake, right? Like if you have wicked stuff and the command isn't fully there, time is of the essence. So maybe the Cubs were just like, we either have better options or we need to focus our time and efforts elsewhere. The Yankees, apparently they have all the time in the world to do this. This is their favorite thing to do. This is their Super Bowl at this point. Yes. It's akin to the Fernando Cruz signing, or trade. Sorry.
Trade.
Yeah. Ton of strikeouts, ton of walks, but the upside's massive if you can hone that control a little bit. And for somebody who is, one of the last guys on the 40-man roster, you give him a shot. He'll be on that Scranton shuttle, I assume, coming up here and there, seeing what he can offer. Always good to have the qualities of a potential back-end reliever. I think the stuff is there for Arias in terms of that. The profile is there. Is he there himself? No. Is Cruz there himself? No, but the profile is there. So if you keep, what was the problem last year, right? No swing and miss from the bullpen. None. And look, like Devin Williams comes in and he changes that a little bit. Luke Weaver gets bumped down. Well, he was the lone swing and miss guy probably in the bullpen at that point. And now you keep stacking these guys behind them, and all of a sudden you are dreaming of a bridge to the 9th where you have 3 to 4 strikeout artists who are sitting down the heart of the order a couple of times. These are the under the radar diamond in the rough-esque move that the Yankees are good at, or the Yankees or at least invest the proper time in before they cut bait and figure it out. But I like it. I can't be opposed. Do I want a more established name? Sure. Like there's still a bunch of relievers out there that we could reunite with, or we could spend money on. I understand that there's the tax situation. They're either right over the thing. So you were talking about this before. Here's what I don't understand about the payroll stuff. Mm-hmm. The payroll stuff is calculated when the year ends. So you're taxed on whatever. So why are they hell bent on making sure the number is fine right now?
To clear, unless it's to clear as much room as you can to operate at the trade deadline, then there's.
But they never operate like that at the trade deadline.
Of course they don't, and they're also never going to clear $18 million of Marcus Stroman's money. Yeah. They could get somebody to pay it down, but what's the best case scenario? You pay $9 million. Like there's no way you're going to get an $18 million deal off the books. You can get it subsidized. But you're not just going to – there's no team in the world. The Giants, Angels were interested in him last year. You wrote about this week. The Giants and Angels aren't going to be like, we'll do you a solid. We'll pay him $17.28 million. You can have, as long as you foot $700,000 of the bill. That's not going to happen. It's going to be sizable. It's going to be a split. And at the price that it's going to cost the Yankees for Marcus Stroman to not play for the team, I don't know. I'd rather have him as a 6 starter. You could manage his innings so that he doesn't vest into a player option next year. You could use him. Like people are going to go down. You could use a strong Stroman in July instead of the strong Stroman that we got last May. He had great months. Then he got tired.
Yeah.
He wasn't good at the end of the year.
His first half was amazing. He had a sub-3 ERA in 14 starts. Like of course you'll take that. Is he worth $18 million? Like based on where the market is last year? Yeah, he was. And the Yankees paid the price. Now, if you're just smart, You look at it like this. Okay, Marcus Stroman's costing us $18 million. Is he worth $18 million? No. But Clark Schmidt and Luis Gil are costing us $4 million total. So maybe we can look at it as a more communal thing. Great. Like, yeah, in my opinion, the problem here is paying Carlos Rodon $28 million. Like that's where the problem is. Carlos Rodon, there's really like, I don't know if I'm crazy, but like there's not a, outside of Carlos Rodon having ace-like stuff in his arsenal, there's not that big of a gulf between him and Stroman in terms of margin for error, in terms of lackluster performances, in terms of inconsistency. The profiles are there. Carlos Rodon just throws really hard and has more of a profile of a co-ace, which is what the Yankees thought they were signing up for and they didn't get. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Marcus Stroman's valuable because what's your other option, right? Get rid of Marcus Stroman. Okay, great. $18 million is cleared. Are you acquiring another starter? Probably not. Okay, who's your sixth guy? Will Warren, who's bad. Okay, now you're punting games at this point. You're going to punt 10 starts a year, whereas Marcus Stroman could be here for 18 really solid starts. It is what it is. You just have to live with the decisions you made. And the Yankees panicking about this already is dumb and not viewing it through the lens of how it makes sense. Like Marcus Stroman, again, this year pitched the most innings he had in 3 years. Of course, you are not going to get the same version of him in the first half as you do in the second half or vice versa. It's all going to depend on where he finds his rhythm and where he gets his group. The problem was that the Yankees didn't manage him properly towards the end of the year. Part of that was the fact that they had a lot of those guys, right? They had Luis Gil, who was on an innings limit, but unofficially.
They had Eckert disappeared. Yeah.
They had Clark Schmidt, who misses 2 months every year. And this time he missed 3.5 months because I don't know how they managed his lat injury, which should not have been 3.5 months. And that put more strain on Stroman. Then you mixed Will Warren in there. And Will Warren was ineffective. And they kept doing it. And they didn't supplement themselves at the trade deadline, and they paid for it and it made everybody else look bad. And again, I'll say this every podcast, they signed Marcus Stroman to that deal knowing he was a contact first ground ball pitcher, and they knew their defense sucked. They knew the infield defense sucked. They knew they would have a platoon at third base, which is an imperfect way to go about third base. They knew they had Gleyber Torres at second base, who goes in bouts of being a sterling defender and one of the worst defenders you've ever seen. And they knew they had Anthony Rizzo, who was still not right from the previous season. Mm-hmm. And Anthony Volpe, very good defender. There's still limitations there with his arm strength, sometimes with his range, what have you. So it is what it is. I'll still take him at shortstop every day, but like, it's not like you have a generational defensive shortstop out there. So you have an infield that cannot adequately defend, and you have a pitcher who's constantly putting the ball on the ground. So that's the Yankees' fault. So the fact that they want out of this contract now just goes to show that they didn't think this through, or they magically thought, oh, we're going to get 30 starts out of Stroman at a 2.95 ERA, and it's going to be great. And it's like, that was never going to happen, and you should have known that was never going to happen. But I look at this roster, and Trent Grisham is $5 million. Do you need him? No. You need Marcus Stroman more than you need Trent Grisham. You could play Oswaldo Cabrera in the outfield if you really wanted to. That can get people off their feet. I know center field, and you can cycle Dominguez and Bellinger in center field, and you have no need for Trent Grisham and $5 million. It's a lot. That's a lot of money for a guy who's not going to play. Marcus Stroman will at least be pitching once every 5 or 6 days. And that's someone who's going to preserve the rotation, preserve the bullpen, avoid you from having punt starts. That's way more valuable. And then the rest is people getting overpaid. So it is what it is. You have Marcus Stroman who's healthy and you can utilize him properly. If you can trade him and someone eats, at least $15 million, then great. You've done a good job. Like now you can figure it out. But to trade half his salary, to pay him $9 million to go pitch somewhere else is just stupid. And the Yankees have this issue now with clearing this payroll, and now the Mets are creeping around Tim Hill, which I would too if I was them and needed a left-hander. Like, I don't know why this wasn't settled in November. We were sitting here in November saying, oh, isn't this the first deal that should be done?
Yeah.
We're mid-January, not done.
Does Tim Hill not cost $3 million, $4 million, 2 years max? Like, Am I wrong on Tim Hill's market? The Mets are maybe going to save us here because I think, look, I don't actually, it's funny. I got to figure out if Yankee fans are legally allowed to bash the Mets offseason, like if there's blowback on that. But the Mets have had a really weird offseason that got so much weirder today. So even if it's technically a crime, a thought crime, I'm going to go after the Mets at the end of this podcast. So rest assured. But there's a rumor that they're going to pivot away from Alonso. Now they gave Jesse Winker $7.5 million, and they might want a really top tier bullpen arm like a Tanner Scott. We've heard Tanner Scott wants $20 million-ish a year. So if they do that, I doubt they go back to Tim Hill or whatnot. But right now the Mets are connected to Tim Hill and his 2 ERA with the Yankees last year and his 5.5 ERA before coming to the Yankees. But actually he had a better FIP with the White Sox than the Yankees. So he's a mid-threes ERA guy. He's a very good lefty. He was clutch in the postseason last year. We already know what a world without Tim Hill looks like in New York. It's called Game 1 of the fucking World Series. God damn it. But he's valuable, and he's battle-tested, and he's a different kind of pitcher. He is a pitch-to-contact guy, much like Marcus Stroman. Better defense behind him, better outcomes for Tim Hill. Doesn't miss bats. That's important in a lot of instances. But it can be very helpful to be able to do what he does, minimize hard contact. And Clay Holmes got remarkably unlucky last year with the same thing. But also Clay Holmes gave up 450-foot moonshots, and Tim Hill rarely did that. Clay Holmes gave up walk-off grand slams and lost home plate. Tim Hill didn't do that. So both were unlucky to an extent in Chicago. Tim Hill, he was very lucky in New York, but different varieties of unlucky, I would say. Holmes, unlucky and prone to explosions and polarizing. Hill, unlucky, but always around the strike zone, always on time. There's a chance you could see some regression next year, but I don't think it's going to be much. I think he's a durable pitcher who had the worst first half of his career last year and then figured it out, saw things even up. Mid threes feels totally reasonable. Low threes, low twos are possible. He did it last year. You never know. He could fight that luck monster for the right stretch. And I don't know how much this is going to cost. $3 to $4 million, a 2-year deal maximum. What is the relief market right now? Are there $9 million a year offers for Tim Hill? Is there any number where we look at it and go, oh, okay, I get it. The Yankees actually didn't need to do that. Like Hector Neris's money from last year? I don't think so. So I'm going to save my anger here. I still think he'll be a Yankee. I think they'd be foolish to open the year with no lefties in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And have to scramble. They have none right now. They looked at both Hill and Andrew Chafin. Hill is more dependable. Hill is probably cheaper. And if the money comes out and he goes somewhere else and he's not cheaper, then I'll eat my words. But it really does seem like this is not the most important or most impactful move they could make, but it was the easiest. And now, like Jonah Hill in the sell your stuff on eBay store, you're making it extremely complicated.
Yeah, I mean, first is you need a lefty. And he was here last year, and they prove that they were able to turn his bad luck around or whatever it is. So when you're talking about him or Andrew Chafin, which was another option, and I say, why not sign both? But we know that that's not going to be the reality. You probably lean Tim Hill, who's going to be cheaper and has the familiarity. Secondly, I think it's important, and what do I know, to have different looks in the bullpen. So Tim Hill, sidewinding lefty with weird shit, like good.
Mm-hmm.
Far too long, the Yankees have had a lot of guys with similar profiles, whether it's sinker ballers or sweepers or whatever, and it gets redundant and the opposing teams pick up on it. And there's not enough differentiation in the bullpen. And especially when you ran into the worst nightmare of last year when there was lack of differentiation for the most part of the season. And then there was no swing and miss. It's like, what are we doing here? We're just serving it up. And the Yankees bullpen as a whole last year got lucky. Very much got lucky, and that's crazy to say because Clay Holmes blew the most saves in the league. They lost a ton of guys to injuries. They picked up random dudes off the scrap heap to just start figuring it out.
They lost a ton of games.
Yeah, so look, shit happened, and the Yankees made the most of it, and they ended up largely being fine until they got burnt out towards the end of the postseason. But in terms of Tim Hill and what you're looking at with experience, with pitch mix, with handedness, you need a lefty, and with style of pitch, it's a really good fit, and it'll throw hitters off, and that's the name of the game nowadays. How are you keeping the opponents on their toes constantly throughout the full 9 innings with your pitching staff. And sometimes Aaron Boone does a great job of that, and then sometimes it just looks like he's calling on a random guy because he has no other choice. I'd like to minimize the latter. I'd like to just have there be more effectiveness. And I know there's going to be days where you're just, flying off the edge of your seat and it's like, who's available? Got to throw him in. Okay, here we go. But it was too much of that last year. And the more you leave that up to chance, the greater likelihood you're going to be in more and more of those positions this coming year. So don't let the Mets take Tim Hill. They finally got clued in on this. I don't know what's taken them so long. If they needed a lefty in their bullpen, but if you let this happen, it's going to be another dumb former Yankee goes to Mets, and it's following this narrative that's frustrating. Like the amount of players they keep targeting of ours is annoying. It's objectively annoying, and this would be the most annoying among the most annoying because we found Tim Hill, got him for nothing, fixed him into something reliable and unique, and now that's all going to waste because you need to get the payroll underneath $302 million. Just give me a break.
I mean, it is getting nuts how many freaking former Yankees are finding their way there. And we can look at Brooks Raley all we want, but I would rather just have Tim Hill back. It's easier. And then go get a second guy. Go get another $5 million guy. We are not talking about breaking the budget here. And speaking of breaking the budget, just before we sign off, you have to laugh at the New York Mets. You have to. I won't have it any other way. With every day that passes, it looks more and more like Juan Soto was just, Steve Cohen was in love with the idea of Juan Soto, like a record collector looking at a rare Beatles EP that his neighbor had. And he's like, I'm going to get so rich that someday I can buy that. And I'll have the original printing of Abbey Road. And then someone was like, after you do that, what else are you going to do? And he was like, I haven't decided yet, but probably nothing. Like, congratulations on winning the bidding for Juan Soto, right? We go to $800+ million with all these incentives, and he can't turn it down. And now he has to censor that song he was in and pretend it didn't say Yankee in the chorus. He has to whisper Mets in a microphone when he's at the club. And great, good all around. Soto and Lindor, great combo. Brandon Nimmo, they got some offense at the top of that lineup. But after signing Juan Soto for $30 trillion, David Stearns was like, I caution that you should not spend on anyone else. And then Steve Cohen, I don't know if he was like, good idea, or like, wait, but I'm the spending guy. Either way, we ended up with no Luis Severino. They decided to do a different reclamation project, signed Frankie Montas before Soto, signed Clay Holmes as a starter before Soto, and then brought Sean Manaea back. So you've got those guys and David Peterson, and you hope Kodai Senga is healthy. And there's not an ace in there. Sean Manaea got exposed last postseason as a guy who funked with his arm angle and succeeded in the regular season and couldn't hold up against the Dodgers when it mattered most. Really good pitcher. And if you're a guy who can pay anyone anything, 3 years, $75 million, that's fine. I said this on Baseball Insiders, and the comments section was like, you don't know, look who doesn't know shit about pitching development. No, I know shit about pitching development. You turned a bunch of anonymous names into a bunch of 3 starters. That's pretty good pitching development. Now, where's your ace? I don't see one. Either way, what the Mets could still do with this rotation of attempts, a bunch of darts, that's okay. It might work, and you could win without a dominant rotation. The Dodgers did last year. But, okay, then what you really have to do is flex your muscles offensively. You have so much money, endless money, all the money in the world. And also, you're a family, right? That's what we heard about Soto. The Yankees don't know how to treat family. We'll make sure that Juan Soto's father can deliver him brownies in the clubhouse, right? He has a suite. The Yankees wouldn't give him a suite. We'll give him whatever he wants. We'll give his mom a clothing budget. And why? Because we're not a team. We're not a baseball team here. We're a family, right? We love our loved ones. We love the ones that they love. We'll do anything it takes to make sure. We'll fluff your pillows. We'll get you the blanket that we'll do anything to make sure that you feel comfortable here. Is there a rat in the press conference room? This is Juan Soto's press conference. Get that rat out of here. Sir, that's actually Pete Alonso. He's your first baseman last year and for many years. Oh my God, I can't even look at him. Get him out of here. Disgusting. Pete Alonso, born and raised Met, New Yorker, symbol of the team, icon on the roster, and more importantly, the protection for Juan Soto, fleshing out this lineup, making sure that you don't get worse year over year. The Mets and Alonso are now at an impasse, and he wanted to come back there, and he reportedly offered them 3 years and $30 million a year.
The first ever player offering a team a contract.
He came back and said, "This is getting ridiculous. Would you just take this 3-year deal?" After he turned down a 7-year deal from the Mets a couple years ago, and the Mets are saying no. Now they are pivoting to Jesse Winker and a reliever. Which, by the way, if that was our plan B, you would never hear the end of it. But instead, we have to address that as a serious, actual plan B from the New York Mets, the family team who are behaving as coldly and also as unthinking as you can, because you get Juan Soto, you go all in. You have to go all in the wake of Soto. And now Soto is better than Alonso, but how much better is your lineup with Soto and without Alonso? Marginally so. There are no other changes. You're losing Iglesias.
MLB Network was talking about this the other day, and it was wild. It was like a really bad conversation. It was Cliff Floyd who was actually making the good point, and who's the other guy? Amsinger.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand. Pete Alonso, where are you going?
No, he was essentially saying that the Mets replaced and surpassed Alonso's power with Soto and Mark Vientos. And it was like, well, Mark Vientos is already here. And yeah, Juan Soto's a tremendous addition. But again, losing Pete Alonso's one-of-a-kind power, regardless of how long you think it's going to last, like adding Juan Soto and then shifting a bunch of other guys around is not going to... It's the Yankees argument, right? You lost Juan Soto. You're not replacing Juan Soto in the aggregate. You're going to try. Maybe you improve your defense and you get some of the run production back from Soto. You get 70% of the run production back in 2 players, and your defense gets better at 2 or 3 positions. That's an overall improvement. But you're talking about moving Mark Vientos to first base where he doesn't play. You're talking about downgrading your defense and the offense with Soto. And again, you're talking about Vientos, who already existed there and will, maybe take the step. It was also like living in the world where it's like, oh, Mark Vientos did well last year. He should do even better next year. Famously, it doesn't work like that. It works like that for 10% of players who get better year over year. And
let's not act like the Mets are the team that always gets lucky in that department. Like, they'll just repeat that and grow on it. Like we dog the Yankees for banking on that, not getting it. Like, I'm sorry, the 2022 Mets year over year, they had like Justin Verlander, and then they're just unsalvageable. Like we're sure that the Mets are just gonna bank on growth. Okay.
Yeah. It's just a weird conversation where I was like, and I'm not even like a gigantic Pete Alonso fan, but in any baseball realm, if somebody hits 40 home runs and they leave, replacing that with another 40 home run hitter does not elevate the roster. It puts it back to where it was. So essentially you could say right now, the Mets got technically a little bit better because they swapped Soto for Alonso. I think they'll get better at bats. They'll get better looks at, the opposing pitcher because Soto works counts and he's an intimidating hitter, but you just lost a mega power hitter from the middle of your line. There's no replacing that in one fell swoop. 40 home run hitters don't exist. They don't just appear and you're like, oh yeah, we'll throw this guy into the mix.
50 home run hitter, 60 home run hitter. Like Pete Alonso beat Judge's rookie home run record a couple of years ago. There's really no limit on that power.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody thinks that that's going to make the Mets a better team. And again, maybe there's Bregman in the mix. Maybe that's the plan. Move Vientos to first, get Alex Bregman. Now you're talking, but like as is, if the Mets are done, or if the Mets are, thinking about making a couple of budget acquisitions to make up for the loss of Alonso, like I don't see how that works. And quite frankly, like this seems to be the shit that the Yankees get made fun of for all the time. They're getting made fun of for it this offseason with Soto leaving.
Yeah. We do is get made fun of, and I would like to see the same energy for the New York Mets here. I'm not going to fully pass judgment until Alonso is on the dotted line somewhere else, but I think this is already pretty disrespectful. Like I'm not going to hide that. It's baseball. It's a business. I get it, but all the, Yankee fans were attached to Gleyber Torres looking at a 1-year deal, and the Yankees didn't want him, and they moved on. But Gleyber Torres isn't Aaron Judge. And when it came time for the Yankees to take care of Aaron Judge, they extended themselves and gave him one more uncomfortable year to get the job done because he's the captain. He's the leader of that team. And the Mets said, we are able to supplement our roster with one of the top 5 hitters in baseball today and potentially a future Hall of Famer in Juan Soto. And we can use our unlimited financial resources to get there. And everyone in the room was like, let's go. And someone in the room was like, and that'll be such a great boost to our captain, Pete Alonso. And then Steve Cohen was like, I have no interest in bringing that person back. None at all. Okay. And just like, even at this price, we're not talking about an exorbitant price here. These are first basemen. They make first baseman money. Baseball is weird now. This is not a shortstop. This is not Ellie De La Cruz. We're not talking about a $300 million deal that you don't want to sign. 158, Alonso said no to, and you already won, right? You won the negotiation because he's going to come back to you for less. He's in fact groveling and saying, I'll offer you this. It's so much less. What about that? And you won the negotiation, and you're still like, I'd just rather not have that. And David Stearns wasn't here when Alonso came up. And, it's just, I hate to, it can't even get into like, wow, it feels like it's devaluing regular season baseball and the connection that these fans have with these players. It's devaluing postseason baseball too. You don't get to the CS without Pete Alonso last year. You don't get to the DS without him. He saved your ass in the first round. He saved you. You were on your deathbed, and he won that game for you in Milwaukee. And you're, thank you. But also, 3 years is 3 years. That's too many. We can't do that. We got to roll with Mark Vientos and Jesse Winker. And by the way, you also, the goal is to win the World Series, right? In order to get to the World Series, you have to get through the National League. And the Dodgers, who Juan Soto probably at this point should have signed with or considered more seriously, have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Roki Sasaki, Tyler Glass. Now Ohtani's pitching now. I guess they don't have Roki Sasaki yet, but I feel like they're going to have him, so I'll put him on that roster. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez went back to the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is the best team in the world. The best team in the world doesn't always win the World Series, but like this is who you got to beat to get to the World Series, to even have a chance to win a championship. Their rotation with or without Sasaki is crazy. Their lineup is double yours. Like yours is half of
literally.
Theirs. Like, I don't know. You sign Juan Soto and you can't end up being like in a different tier than the best team in the National League.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree. That's it, man. I agree.
I mean, again, I'll recant all of this if the Mets come to their senses, but it's really looking like this is what they feel like doing. And I don't care if you say Yankee fans can't bash the Mets after losing Juan Soto to them. I'm going to do it anyway. So come for me. Come for us live here on YouTube, Mondays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock Eastern, or on all podcast platforms. I see you there. The numbers are nice. I like them. So come listen if you're mad at us or if you like what we're doing. We'll welcome you either way. I'll probably snark you on X. The platform known as X now. A couple days away from the inauguration. I guess we got to start calling it X. I guess that's normal now. You can find me there at Adam Weinrib, Thomas Carannante, not Adam Weinrib, too. Where can the people find you?
I am at Tommy's_takes. We are at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Very easy stuff. Little thumbs up icon. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Content. We're getting it all out. We're keeping you guys up to date. You might think it's slow right now, but it's not. There's stuff bubbling underneath the surface, and you got to stay on top of all the news. We got you covered. Appreciate you guys reading and listening. Have yourselves a good weekend, man. Hopefully we'll get some more news over the next 24 to 48 hours. Free agent trade market can come more and more into focus with the remaining players, and hopefully the Yanks make a move. That's all we could ask for. But otherwise, we'll see you Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern live right here. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of not making moves. I'd love to make some of those moves I've heard so much about. I would love to be a part of one someday. And the Yankees got their business done in December, but it has left the 2 months after that feeling really freaking barren. So it'd be nice to plug these obvious holes and Just get me an infielder that I know. Get me a name and show me him, and so I can go, oh, right, an infielder. Great. And then we can all move on. Till Monday's show, which is not going to be occurring on Monday because that is a holiday.
Sorry.
So it's like Monday's show, but more in a more crucial sense, it's Tuesday's show.
In a more like picture Monday, but Tuesday.
It's Monday's show, but in sort of this holistic sense, if you're mapping days on other days, it's actually much more like Tuesday's show because that's when it'll be occurring. But until then, we will see you. Take care, everybody. Yankees rule.